Hey nerds, welcome back to Read by Redhead. If you're new here, I'm Martha, the redhead, and sorry, that's my cat. So, as you'll be able to tell from the title of this video, I am deviating from my normal bookish content because there's something I really want to talk about that I've been trying to write down and write like a social media post, and I can't do that because I feel more comfortable sitting here talking to my phone and a ring light. So yeah, I suppose I'll dive into it. I have long COVID, and the weird part of that is I have never had a positive coronavirus test. So I think first I'm going to explain what's happened, what led from the start of 2020 to here, me filming this video. I will pop a timestamp on the screen of where you can skip to if you don't want the story, you just want to hear about what long COVID's like. But for me, I think it would make more sense to start at the beginning, and also for people who know me, they might be a little confused right now. Also, yes, I am sat here cuddling an elephant because I want comfort right now and my cat's being a little shit. So New Year's Eve, just before start 2020, I was ill, but I have a crappy immune system. I get ill quite a lot. I was working in retail. I had deadlines for university the first week in January, so I ignored it. So I was getting progressively more ill, and I remember being at work, and one of the regulars, Karen, was like, "Martha, please go to a doctor. Your cough doesn't sound normal. Like, I can tell that you're ill. Go to a doctor." And at this point, I'd had family, I'd had friends, all telling me I needed to go to a doctor. And she was the person who broke the camel's back. So thank you to Karen for that. And so about 2 weeks into being ill, I went to my doctor. And at the time, I was suffering really badly with horrendous fevers. I was up, down, here, there, and everywhere. I had a horrendous cough. Like, I was staying awake, coughing. I couldn't speak a whole sentence without coughing multiple times. It wasn't fun. I also was suffering really badly from like tension headaches up here, which at the time felt really similar to sinusitis, but the doctor did confirm my sinuses were fine. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said immediately that they thought I might have had a form of tonsillitis. Now, I had my tonsils out as a kid, but I'm really prone to strep throat, which can be like tonsillitis of the stumps. I've had it multiple times, so they put me on antibiotics. I had a week's worth of double strength antibiotics because of how ill I was. Went back to the doctor after 7 days because I was no better. In fact, I felt worse. And at this point, I needed to be off work. And I don't take time off work easily, and especially at the time, I didn't have any additional sick pay left. So my job tops up your sick pay, so you get your full wage, but you only have a certain allowance. And I'd had a knee operation where I'd had to take 12 weeks off work, so I had no sick pay allowance left. And when you're on a part-time contract, statutory sick pay is horrendous. So I went back to my doctor after the antibiotics and said, I can't cope right now. I'm barely able to get myself out of bed to get to this doctor's surgery. Help. So they did a bunch of blood tests, and at the time my doctor said, right, the antibiotics haven't worked, this has to be a viral infection. He said it could be laryngitis, or it could be glandular fever. So they did a bunch of blood tests, including the glandular fever blood test, which he told me comes back positive or negative. That's what happens. So he wrote me a sick note for a week off work with suspected glandular fever, and I had a week of lying in bed, feeling the worst I have ever felt. Like, I have been ill in my life. As I say, I had just recovered from a knee surgery 6 months prior. That was the worst week I've ever felt in my life. I couldn't walk to the kitchen without getting tired. I wasn't okay. But I thought I had glandular fever, so it made sense. A lot of my symptoms were really similar. My throat was a little bit swollen, and specifically on one side, I had quite a big, like, swollen gland. So it made sense. It explained it until my blood test results came back and my white blood cells were through the roof, confirming I had a viral infection. But my glandular fever blood test came back inconclusive. Now, the nurse was brutally honest and said okay, sorry if the angles changed slightly, the cat ran into the ring light. But yeah, the nurse had said she'd never seen inconclusive before. So the doctor rang me back and said that what was the most likely thing was I had glandular fever because I had been ill for so long before going to the doctors. He said, you've probably had glandular fever. It's busy coming out of your system, so you're not quite at negative yet, but your white blood cells show there is definitely a viral infection that your body's still trying to fight off. So he said at that point that I was okay to go back to work. He said I should no longer be contagious, but to be cautious anyway. And at this point, just to say that when I was told I had glandular fever, I was told it was a really contagious disease, which was transmitted by droplets. So when I went home, I had a separate mug, separate cutlery, separate towels. I was hyper conscious of anything I touched. I took hand sanitizer with me to work when I went back. Even though I was told I might not be contagious anymore, I did not want to give glandular fever to anybody else in my life because what I had experienced of it was so horrendous. So that was January going into start of February. That was the start of 2020. And then, as everybody knows, we had coronavirus and we had lockdown. And during this time, I was still not okay. My cough had gone completely. My fevers had settled completely. But my body hurt. And I was tired. Now, I have had underlying fatigue my whole life. So I've had that my whole life. I know what that feels like. And this wasn't that. But in my mind, we were going into lockdown. I was in my final year of university. I had to move home for the first time in a long time because I didn't want to do lockdown alone. And it was a pandemic. Nobody had experienced a pandemic before. So I explained away how I was feeling with anxiety and with panic attacks. It was like, I am just getting really breathless and feeling out of control in my own body because I've got really bad anxiety and because all this horrible stuff's going on. So I did that for a good couple of months. And then the week before my dissertation was due in May, I was ill again. I had a horrendously spiked fever. And at the time, I had been helping my sister with childcare and she was a key worker. So my doctor said, use your sister's work and both of you go get tested. Because I had been in her house, we needed to know. So we went and we got coronavirus tests and everything was negative. Spoke to my doctor, who at this point said to me, you know, Martha, because your glandular fever test was inconclusive, we think you might have actually had coronavirus in January. Bye. And that was it. So I laughed about it. I said, isn't that funny that I might have had this before all of this kicked off? Isn't it so lucky that I was told I had something that was contagious so that I didn't end up spreading it to my friends, to my family, to my severely immunocompromised mother? And we laughed as a family. It was funny that I might have already had it. It was like a bit of a punchline of, oh, Martha had that. Of course you did, Martha. You get ill with everything. And then life kept changing. And again, I kept downplaying my body telling me something was wrong by saying it was my brain and it was my anxiety. I moved to Edinburgh on my own. I started a new course. I was still on furlough from my job, so got another job. And not long after changing GP to a GP in Edinburgh, I reached a point with my fatigue where I wasn't coping, where I would randomly fall asleep, or I'd wake up after 12 hours sleep and my whole body hurt. I was that tired. And sorry, I told myself I wasn't going to cry filming this. Um, and I live on the second floor of a building, and walking up the stairs to my flat would make me horrendously breathless. And at this point, there start to be articles coming out of newspapers saying that the unspoken horror is long COVID, and I'd never heard of it. And then I started reading into the symptoms, and then I started crying, like I am now. And so I rang up my new GP in Edinburgh, who, bless his soul, I've never met him and I've already spoken to him way too many times. And so, bless his soul, he listened and he said, Martha, I think you had coronavirus and I think you've got long COVID, but let's rule out everything else first. And at this point, I was trying really hard not to panic because there are many different things it could have been, and it could have been something that could be fixed. So I went to my doctor's surgery. They did full blood tests of everything. Everything came back as expected. So my doctor rang me on 30th of October, day before Halloween and the second lockdown announcement in England, and said, everything else is fine. You have long COVID. And that's really hard because they don't know at the moment whether I have to live like this for the rest of my life. Oh, I'm sorry that I'm sniffing, it's really gross. The doctor was really honest and said to me, this could just go. This could fade away and suddenly you're back to normal. Or this could be normal now. This could be a chronic disease. And because it's so new, they don't know enough to tell me what I'm dealing with. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you, whoever the hell you are watching this. It's awful. It's horrendous. I've been dealing with health issues, mental health issues my entire life, and especially my adult life. The uncertainty of whether I have to live with this forever is breaking me a little bit. And I don't want anyone to be worried about me. I'm doing okay. I'm looking after myself. I'm taking each day as it comes, and I'm learning new limits. But that doesn't mean I'm okay, because I have long COVID. The reason I wanted to make this video and share this is because I am sick of seeing those idiots online. People saying, well, I'm not at high risk. Why should I have to stop my life? And A, you are selfish. Like, who cares if you're not high risk? Somebody else is. Somebody else's mum is. Somebody else's kid is. Your own grandparents probably are. So A, stop being selfish. But B, you could be this. You could think that you were just a bit ill and it was awful, but you got over it and you were better. And it could be months. And when I say months, I mean I was ill in January and it's now November. You could be 10 months post coronavirus and still feel the worst you've ever felt. You could wake up every single morning barely able to get out of bed because your body hurts, because you are so tired. You could be sat doing uni work or working from home on your laptop and suddenly wake up 2 hours later, because that's happened to me. You could struggle to walk up a flight of stairs without still getting breathless. Or you could have what I think is possibly the most difficult part, which is medically known as brain fog. and it's really bloody hard to explain. And I didn't even know there was a medical term for it until my doctor said I wasn't just going a bit mental, which is my brain just won't take in what's happening. You could sit and watch a whole lecture and partway through realize, and partway through your brain just clouds over, and you get to the end of it and you don't really know what was said or what you said or what happened. You could have memory issues like you've never known, and this is coming from somebody with mental health problems who already has really bad memory problems at times. You could suddenly find it really difficult to remember simple things that you're told. A short answer, you could be me. And you don't want this. I didn't want this. But I want people to know that this is a possibility. That this virus is horrendous. And what it's doing by killing people is its worst symptom. But we don't know yet what it can do to your body if you stay alive. We don't know yet if what it changes inside of you is permanent. I hope it's not. I really hope it's not. But it might be. And if it is, I will have to learn to live like this. And so might you. I don't really know how to finish this video because usually I'm smiling and laughing at this point. Usually I promise more bookish content coming soon, and at the moment I'm struggling. I'm really struggling to have enough energy to do my degree and my job, and they have to take priority. So I hope I'll be back soon, not crying at you. And please, like, don't feel sorry for me. I've done enough feeling sorry for myself, but I don't need other people to feel sorry for me. I need other people to listen and to understand what this disease can do. So yeah, I'm gonna close this off here. And if you have watched this, thank you for listening to me. As I say, I want to be back making fun bookish content because I love it and I have so many ideas, but at the moment I'm still struggling. So I hope you're all okay and you're safe, and if you do follow me, I'll see you again soon. Bye.